Hello and welcome to Podtoid. I'm CJ.
Konbanwa watashi no namae hakurisu de.
Nope, we're done for the day. That's it, guys. We're going home. That's it for the show. So long, everyone. Goodbye. What the hell was that?
Japanese.
Oh, okay. I should probably know that. I've been playing well, no, it's an American-made Japanese video game, so never mind.
And I'm Charlotte, and I was going to try to do my name in Pig Latin, but I realise I hear the term Pig Latin more than I hear it actually spoken, so I have no idea how to say I'm Charlotte in Pig Latin.
What would that be? You know what? I can't even remember. I used to do Pig Latin because that was a cool thing to do when you were kids here, but I guess I can't remember how to do it.
Do you guys know Kizani?
No.
Like in carnivals and in wrestling, like back in the day, there was a form of like abbreviated Latin known as Carni or Kizani that they used, where you just substituted like E's into the middle of words in order to like kind of code what you were saying. So if you'd imagine saying phrases like Carni is Kizani, but you just did that with like entire sentences in order to speak to people like in front of others without them understanding what you were saying.
That sounds like Snoop Dogg rhyming.
I guess so, yeah.
Shizzle, much shizzle.
But it was kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like that. And that was kind of how they used to kind of, wrestlers would talk to each other if they had to quickly drop information. Like if police would come around the corner, they'd be like, "He's ops." And everyone would just know what they meant. Like,
I'm sorry, but that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard, because that'd be so easy to decipher once you've heard a couple of sentences.
But the thing is like, I think everyone did it for like so long and nobody did. But I'm talking in like 1981, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway, this is episode 464. Thank you for joining us today. We have a show of an undecided quality planned for you. And given how the show has gone so far, I'm going to say low quality. We're going to be talking
so down on us, CJ. Come on, we're fantastic people. We're a fantastic bunch.
I'm sat there like learning that Japanese, trying not to get it wrong, and trying not to offend anyone. And here comes CJ, can't be bothered to come up with a language himself, acting on everybody else.
I told you I could do sign language, but that won't work for a podcast.
Like, I mean, where's Dan? Where's Occam's? They've seen the iceberg.
On today's show, we're going to talk about some Ghost of Tsushima, some Just Dance, and a little bit later, we're going to be looking at those awful NBA 2K ads. But before we get into that, y'all, I have some great news. I'm literally floating on air right now. I've been working on a secret Podtoid project in the background for a few months now, and I haven't told anyone about it, not even Chris, and I tell him everything. Everything. It's been a long time coming. And this past week, I took a bit of a staycation because Americans aren't allowed to travel anywhere anymore. And I ended up cutting myself off from like Twitter, from the website, from my real job, everything. I just wanted to go full off the grid as much as I could. But I always had my cell phone on me just in case this huge deal went through. And I'm happy to say last Monday, I got the call and it's been approved. You guys, I got a call confirming that we are getting a 24-episode order for the Podtoid television show exclusively on Quibi. I am so excited about this. I got the call on Monday. It is a go. I'm excited. Quibi is excited. It'll be like when my brother and me got that show on CISO, but unlike CISO, Quibi is here to stay. So yeah, I think this is going to be a huge deal for us. And unless there was some other story I might have missed when I wasn't online this past week, I think this is going to be our big break, guys.
It sounds wicked. I'm looking forward to it already.
Yeah.
As a producer, CJ, I think you deserve some kind of special award for being someone who's able to take our audience and somehow shrink it even further.
It's Quibi, you guys. It's the fastest growing streaming network, exclusive to phones. How could it fail?
Well, I won't be watching it because I'm still not around to the idea of watching things on phones. I've known people who were just like, "Oh, I watched Guardians of the Galaxy this morning on my phone on the bus," and I'm just like, "What?" Like, I'm not being a boomer about it. If you want to do that, that's fair enough. But it blows my mind. Like, sit down for this 2.5 hour Marvel movie on the bus on my phone.
I mean, like the idea of cutting down stuff to fit into a commute is a great idea, but that's already been invented. It's called YouTube.
Yeah. I'm just shocked that a streaming service with such huge hits as Dummy, where Anna Kendrick plays opposite a sex doll, or The Golden Arm, where Rachel Brosnahan from The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel plays a woman obsessed with her golden prosthetic arm until it kills her. Episodes, by the way, that were written and directed by goddamn Sam Raimi, didn't excite people. How? What? Who could have saw that coming from the guy who invented the show Father of the Pride, the real CGI animated sitcom about fucking Siegfried and Roy's goddamn white lions.
I'd mate. You know, in the back of your brain, there's like a cupboard that things go in where it's like, I'm never going to need this information ever again, and then you lock the door. Like Father of the Pride was in there, and you just let it out.
It sounds like a title of a movie that Troy McClure did.
It's like Simpsons was big, so Family Guy ripped off Simpsons, and then it was, what if Family Guy were lions?
In this stupidly expensive CGI show. God damn.
Well,
okay.
Thanks for getting that contract. Anyway, it's the only contract I'll ever see.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a huge hit, definitely to air on Quibi in 2023. So, sure it'll still be around then. Chris, how was your week? You were off this past week.
It was okay. It was kind of stressful, but it's all right. The clocks went back here last night, so I got an extra hour, and I spent that hour wisely. It's not often that you get time. Do you know what I mean? So I spent that hour transferring about 3 terabytes worth of Grindhouse movies and trailers to a 4 terabyte hard drive in cumbersome, slow moving chunks of data. Now, I know there are people in games media right now who, like yesterday or like over the last couple of days, got a PS5, and they've been putting up coy photos of like, look, I got my PS5, and more power to them. Congratulations. And also, as an aside, I'm glad that Jeff Keighley got his PS5 because he was concerned that he wasn't going to get one, wasn't he?
Yes, we were all worried for him with that pre-order that he plays, that Jeff Keighley, the guy who runs the Game Awards, would not get a console. With
Kojima on his speed dial. He was the man who had to worry about his pre-order, definitely. But yeah, people have got PS5s and that's great. But I don't think you've really had a weekend unless you've renamed 400 to 500 files to make sure the capitalization's correct on all of them, and then organize them into folders by genre.
That's what spring cleaning is in a digital world, right there.
Yeah, well, I live a minimal lifestyle. It's all just I've got 50 WD digital portable hard drives. Other makes of hard drive are available, and they're all filled with things I'm never going to click on. But it was an okay week. I watched Too Fast, Too Furious. I watched Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. And I watched Star 80 about the murder of Dorothy Stratton.
One of those movies is not like the other.
Yeah.
One of those movies just doesn't belong.
One of them does have Sonny Chiba in, though. So.
That is true.
Those Fast and Furious movies, that second one's pretty bad. And the third one, it's okay. There's no stealing of DVD players, but everyone in the third one is taking photos on their polyphonic flip phones.
Does the Razer mobile phone have a presence in that film?
Oh, I can't
remember Razers.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's in there. I think it's one of those things where because they've got sponsorship deals, everyone just owns the same phone. Speaking of Fast and Furious and phones, do you guys know that deal? Isn't there a thing with Apple where bad guys aren't allowed to use iPhones in movies? Like an actual legal thing.
I think I've heard that, yes.
Like if you see bad guys in movies, like I think the reason this came up because of Fast and Furious, villains in films aren't allowed to be seen using iPhones.
Look, Trump has an iPhone, so all bets are off.
Do you know what I mean?
Seriously.
And that's a super villain. So
I think Obama had a BlackBerry and Trump has an iPhone, so maybe BlackBerry's due a comeback.
Yeah. Obama also had a Zune. I don't see that making a comeback either. So
when the riots happened here in London, they the old white people in charge were convinced the only reason the riots were able to happen were because people were using BlackBerry Messenger. So they tried to shut down the BlackBerry Messenger service temporarily, thinking it'd be like they're mobilizing through that. If we turn that off, then all the riots will stop. Fucking old people.
No, I had a BlackBerry back then. Nobody was using that service. Nobody. Maybe they were, but I wasn't. And I don't know anybody who was. But yeah. The same old white guys are panicking about end-to-end encryption in WhatsApp. So same old.
How's your week been, Charlotte?
Now that, so basically it's not going into a second lockdown just now, but it's sort of a question of maybe when, possibly, things are getting worse again. So it's every day is pretty much the same. I see the same four walls and I do the same things, but I'm trying not to do the same things anymore. So I've started doing, as I'm going to talk about later, I started Just Dance to add a bit of variety to the fact that I now do Ring Fit. And I also started doing a couple of YouTube yoga videos, and I'm cooking more and going for walks more. And yeah, just trying to keep myself sane in these very insane times, basically.
Now, are you able to cook at a decent altitude? Or are you like CJ, who's too high?
Oh my God. Dude, you don't want to know what my poached eggs look like. That altitude, oh my God. Explosions of egg.
Poached eggs. I've got these little bags, and you just put the egg in the bag and then put the bag in the water, and then you reach in, scold your fingers, take it out, peel off the flesh, and then open the bag, and out comes the perfect poached egg.
Who needs fingers?
Who needs flesh? Bone. That's where it's at. You have all the feeling you need in a bone.
Bone.
This is Podtoid.
All right, let's go ahead and get this show on the road, start talking about some games. And I'm going to kick us off with some Ghost of Tsushima. With the end of the year creeping up, I decided to start playing all the potential Game of the Year nominees I missed over the past 12 months, and I figured this was a good place to start. This is the open world adventure game from Sucker Punch, exclusive to PlayStation 4 for now.
I was going to say, you are aware it's not a mobile-based gacha title.
I know, that's usually my cup of tea, but okay. I guess I decided to go for something a little bit, just slightly more in-depth this time, open world, action-adventure, samurai. Also, right off the bat, the first thing I need to say about this game is that it is unbelievably gorgeous. An absolute stunner, and I'm running it on a PlayStation 4 Slim. So some of the textures might not be all that good, but its use of light and color is just beyond what I've seen from other games on the system. The flowers and leaves of Tsushima really make the world pop, and I just love looking at this game day and night. The way the silver moonlight just lights up the fields. It's so fucking gorgeous. And for as good as it looks, it plays just as well. The combat here is really good. Though I have to say, it did take me a few hours before I really gelled with it. I needed to unlock some of the abilities first before I kind of became comfortable with the whole thing. So, at first, there's one of the missions that you have to go to where you earn the bow and arrow, and I died at least 10 times at this one mission just because I didn't have it all down yet. I didn't have the combat down. I didn't have the stealth all down. But a few hours later, I was just smoking fools.
Right.
And I have to say, it's a kind of a classic open world game, that's tied to the story. And I do have a lot of fun going into these enemy camps and taking them down one by one. your character is a samurai, and there's kind of a running theme that to do anything in any other way would be dishonorable to the samurai way of life. I will say the game really never makes you feel bad about it. No matter how many times you take people out with stealth, you embrace your ghost aspect of your character, just because it's way more fun than having to face everyone head on. And sniping fools with a bow and arrow is just such a blast. But it doesn't really play a part into the story of the game until, from what I understand, Act 3, which is beyond where I've reached so far. But even if it did, I think it's silly to ask players to limit their full arsenal for some samurai code the game barely cares about.
I think I've not played the game myself, but I've read around that. Isn't it kind of, don't they try and weave into the narrative the idea that this character has to basically unlearn the person they've become, because that's the only way they can actually confront the odds of the situation that they're facing? It's like, you know that this is the way of the samurai, but like the way of the samurai isn't going to cut it against like huge numbers of enemies.
Yeah, one of the first characters you meet, I think she actually saves your life, is a thief. And so you learn, like, right from her some stealth and sneaking around techniques. So it's like just right from the beginning, after the opening sequence, you're already kind of leaving behind the samurai code just in order to survive. And then you kind of embrace more and more of it as it goes on, as you become stronger, as you get more tools and tricks of the trade, to really become an all-around warrior, to become the ghost. I'm only in Act 2 right now, and from what I understand, this whole abandoning your samurai roots for the ghost persona becomes a bigger part of Act 3. But so far, it's kind of just like, well, this is obviously the optimal way to play the game, because I'm killing everyone so easily because of it. So I'm only about 15 hours into it. But I'm not sure I'm going to continue much further right now. As fun as the gameplay is, and as beautiful as the world is, I'm really starting to tire of the repetition. First of all, I'm tired of following people around in this game. Every single story mission always starts with me following someone around as they tell their story. And there are like really silly moments where someone will say, "Quick, follow me." And so you follow them for 3 seconds, and then a cutscene is triggered. Like, why did I need that 3 seconds of following to get to this point? Why not just add that to the cutscene? There's a moment in Act 1 where you're on this boat, or a series of boats, and you go through, you're striking down all these Mongols, killing a bear if you unlock it from its cage. And then after a quick kill of the Mongol leader, there's a cutscene that then jumps back to gameplay on the boat, just so you can jump into the water, at which point it goes back into another cutscene. And this is one of my main problems with open world games, that is tied to the story, is that you can have awkward pacing like this. There's one mission at the end of Act 1 that plays out a bit like that Simpsons episode, Homer at the Bat, where Jose Canseco is helping that woman out of her burning house.
Okay.
So like, I run to this forge and I have to save this guy, but then I have to go find his sister. And then once I have his sister, I have to go find his apprentice. But once I find the apprentice, I have to find the apprentice's wife. And then I get back to the forge and I have to go find the sister again. It's like just a lot of unnecessary padding. That's all in service of the story. And honestly, I don't think the story is all that good. For starters, Jin Sakai, the protagonist, is just a wet piece of cardboard of a character. God damn. Sucker Punch opted for this like all samurai or honorable myth, and fucking hell is it dull. And there's also some, like the dialogue's not that good, but some of it is unintentionally hilarious. I had a moment where I was on a mission, and the interaction between two characters basically boiled down to this: "Where is your father? He has been taken by the Mongols. Your father is in danger." Yeah, no shit, he's in danger. People who are taken are generally in danger. That's why we have to send Liam Neeson in to save them. It also has my other main point of contention with story first open worlds. There was a moment I was on my way to a story quest, and mind you, it's easy to inadvertently end up where you shouldn't be due to the way the world is designed. It feels very natural in its design, unlike, say, Breath of the Wild, where every single way you look points you towards something. That's not necessarily the case here. Anyways, there was a moment I came across a Mongol camp along the coast with a lighthouse. And by this point in the game, I had unlocked enough skills that I was confident in my capabilities. So I went to the camp and killed everyone. Then I went up to the lighthouse and killed everyone there. Then I reached the story quest, at which point the game promptly turned my ass around and sent me right back to that lighthouse and that camp to liberate it, which I had just done because everyone had respawned as if nothing happened.
It's funny. It's like I hear what you're saying, and I was going to ask when I heard you've been playing this game, because I've heard about this game from a whole bunch of people. Like I've heard all these different opinions and read reviews, but as far as I'm aware, I've not known you to play a lot of like open world adventures. Am I not that I just mean you're not someone, you don't play the Far Cries and you don't play the Grand Theft Autos and the Red Deads to completion. And the Assassin's Creeds and such. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement. I generally don't like big open world games with tons of little point markers that you always feel compelled to go check out.
So here's the thing. It's like, I think Red Dead Redemption, which is an excellent game, I think it's one of the best open world adventures, one of the best games ever made. I think it has a lot to answer for because Red Dead Redemption started a bunch of things that kind of everyone kind of carries through their open world adventure design Bible now. And one of them being the walk along with a character while they exposition to you. Red Dead was, if I remember, the first game where it actually had a button where you held the button down to make sure you always walked at the same pace as the character who was talking, so you could kind of saunter along with them instead of having to kind of just jog up behind them. And the Yakuza Kiwami games also borrowed that mechanic, even though the original games didn't have them. The point I'm kind of making is I think with so many of these games, people, they get used to this stuff and they accept it as part of like let's say like the narrative dissonance of clearing out an area and then having to go back to it and all the people have spawned back, or the idea of everyone you meet, you having to walk behind while they walk you to a checkpoint on the map. And as people play these games, which are annual, there's like an Assassin's Creed every year, there's a Far Cry every year, there's a Grand Theft Auto every, say, 6 years or whatever, and Red Dead's in between that. I think people just have come to accept that this is how open world games are. And maybe as somebody who doesn't play a lot of them, what's standing out to you is stuff that everybody else is almost like deaf to, because they've just played so many games that've got this stuff. I've really started to turn away from checkpoint on the map adventures. The thought of playing them are genuinely choresome to me. The only reason Cyberpunk's piqued my interest is specifically because of how it looks and what the characters look like and what the fashion's like and what the cars are like and all. But in general, a lot of this stuff turns me off open world gaming. But maybe you, because you don't play a lot of those games, or at least don't play them to completion, are just seeing things that everyone else has just kind of learned to accept.
The repetition of that, I would say sometimes it doesn't bother me. Sometimes it's actually kind of comforting to see the same thing over and over again when I'm enjoying a game. But I would say that I experienced with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is a little bit like that sometimes, in the sense of you're going to this marker on a map and you're doing very similar sorts of side quests over and over again. It still reaches a point where after 70 hours, I was just getting tired of it. Like, I'd had a really great time, but I think it's combined with the fact that you're expected to invest so much time in those games. Like, if you were seeing it maybe 10 or 20 times, you'd be okay with it probably. But for even the like most hardy person who's like really doesn't mind some repetition and also might be a bit deaf to it, if you're seeing it literally hundreds of times, the same thing, you eventually wake up to it and you're like, this is actually getting really repetitive and boring and I want to do something else. And that's when you might fall off a game permanently, because we all know the danger of stopping playing a game, that you just might not come back to it.
Yeah. I will say I don't mind when it's repetition and like in combat or in gameplay. I think that I'm more used to, because most games get really repetitious in how you fight the AI. It's just when it's like when I have to liberate a fishing village, and they all have minor differences in how they appear, but how I carry out each one is the exact same. I guess I could go through and change it up myself, but that just seems like extra work for me. The last thing I want to do is create extra work. But there are other things here I'm not too keen about, like crafting, or how my AI companions will berate me for taking too long when I have to search all the dead bodies for equipment and materials.
But overall, you're kind of pleased with the setting and the world and the characters and the look of the game.
I would say overall, I do like the game more than I like the good aspects of the game more than I don't like the bad aspects of the game. I love exploring this map. I love they have shrines that are all basically jump puzzles. I love doing that. I love seeing Jin's ass every time he gets into a hot spring. So, I'm probably going to stop playing it now, but I'm going to keep the save file on my PS4 and see if I can transfer that over to the PS5. Because honestly, I think on my PS4 Slim, I haven't seen the full gamut of this game's beauty. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, Kurosawa mode. This was the much hullabalooed graphical option that turns the game into black and white, and I cannot stand it. Like, it looks nice in some of the cutscenes or the opening moments of a standoff, but beyond that, this world is not meant to be played in black and white. First of all, there are quests in the game that tell you to follow a specific color flower, but more important than that, there is the combat where you have, if your enemy is attacking you with a blue attack, it means that you can parry it. But if it's a red attack, it means you have to dodge. And when you're playing in Kurosawa mode, those are replaced by a white X and a white slash. So considering everything around you is in black and white, it can be very easy to miss those. And it would be nice if there was an option to have those attack signifiers still be in red and blue. But I think most important of all is that the beauty of this world, it can get lost when it's played in black and white. There's an area in the game called the Golden Temple, which is this temple that's surrounded by all of these trees with yellow leaves. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I was riding out of the camp, and I saw there was an open field to my right, and on the left of me was this hillside just full of leaves that had fallen. And I thought, oh, this would be a really good spot for Kurosawa mode. So I turned it on, and that yellow hillside just became an indistinguishable white glare. You could not tell what was on this hillside because there was no detail. It was just like pure white shining back at you.
Well, I think the thing is when people shoot in black and white, everything is set and lit and colored and designed with drop shadow and layers of gray because they know they're shooting in black and white. Whereas if you just like kind of turn something into black and white, it's not the same.
Yeah. But also, like, if they'd have executed it well, that could be a good thing for colorblind people because it's be useful to have cues for attacking that aren't based on color. If you're
that's true.
Blue-red colorblind, is that a thing? I don't know, but yeah. Given that they didn't actually design it to look good in black and white, that's a bit sloppy, I'd say.
They do have a lot of accessibility features, and I don't think I really went through all of those all that much. So there may be an option, but it would be nice if there was like an easy option because it's just Kurosawa mode, yes or no. It would be nice if it was like yes, no, yes, but with color or something else just for my sake. I don't know about colorblind people. I'd have to search into those accessibility options, but I mean, I get why they did it because they said in all those videos they have a great respect for Kurosawa films. Unfortunately, you really can't see that in any other aspect of this game. Like, there isn't a single cutscene here that features the artistry of Kurosawa's direction, unless to them all Kurosawa did was big sweeping shots with tons of scenery in the background. Every cutscene in this game is staged and shot just like any other video game. So it would have been nice if their admiration for Kurosawa extended beyond just this black and white. I don't want to say it's a filter because I know it does some graphical differences, but it's more or less just a filter.
Well, I can't admit to like being a little surprised because I'm not saying you're being particularly hard or negative on this game, but I've only heard praise heaped upon it from so many people. I'm not obviously I'm not trashing your opinion or anything, but I am quite surprised that you're not feeling it. Yeah, like
Well,
you've been good enough to kind of like you've said these are the positives you found in it and stuff like that. But I am a little surprised, to be honest.
the combat is really good, especially the standoff mechanic, which is if you come across a village that's swarmed with Mongols, or you run into them on the paths of the world, you can press up on the control pad and it'll do a single hit standoff. And so basically, you have to hold down the triangle button, wait until they attack, and then you quickly strike and kill them. And as you unlock new skills, you can actually do that up to three times. So you'll kill the first guy, and then another guy will come at you, and you'll kill him in one hit, and then a third guy will come at you, and you can kill him in one hit. I mean, that kind of stuff is just awesome. It's absolutely amazing to see. There's plenty of blood in this game, a lot of gore. But yeah, I think it has to do with the fact that I'm not totally down with the story-driven open world design. I never really have been. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game since the Wii U. So maybe they're better, but I do think that because I'm able to tolerate this, tolerate's a bad word, because I have enjoyed this game for 15 hours, even if I haven't enjoyed everything about it, I think it does make me more willing to try out some of these games I would have just blown off in the past, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Far Cry, whatever the one coming up is. So it's good enough that it may expand my horizons. I don't know if I'm going to fully invest myself like a lot of people do, though. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Chris. Talk some Street Fighter V.
Yeah, I've been playing Street Fighter V again, which is kind of like returning to an old friend that you fell out with, having spent loads of time, and then you fall out with them, and then you don't see them for a bit, and then you kind of get back to hanging out with them, and you try and let bygones be bygones, and you're kind of a little cooler with them, and you get on a little better, but still they kind of do the little things that are just like talk with their mouth full, or wear those annoying white boots or whatever. And so yeah, it's like it's been interesting. Like I've gone back to Street Fighter V and really put some time into it, and it's weird. Like playing Mortal Kombat for nearly 2 years has made me a great Street Fighter V player. I think they kind of call that cross training, where it's almost like if you play other games, other fighting games, it helps you to forget your bad habits. So when you go back to the first game, you're almost approaching it with a fresh mindset, because you're not like kind of set in your ways. Do you know what I mean? So I've gone back to Street Fighter V, and I'm playing exclusively as Jury. I was playing as Laura, like when I was playing the game competitively. But now, because I'm not like going out to tournaments, I just want to play as who I want to play as. So I'm playing as Jury, and it's a fucking struggle. Like it's really uphill playing as that character. But I have been enjoying it. And I think maybe more importantly, no one's like threatened to kill me.
Oh, that's a good step up.
So that's the main difference from going back to Street Fighter V from a NetherRealm fighting title. But it's funny, that game's been out for so long now, Street Fighter V, and clearly it was kind of going to see its twilight year this year, and then they were like, oh, actually, we can maybe squeeze out a little bit more DLC, and Ono left the company, so it's kind of got another year of life left in it. And it is a good game. Like I do like a lot about Street Fighter V. There's a lot I don't really like, the art design and various other aspects of it, but it's still kind of satisfying to play, and the balance isn't so bad between the characters and everything. I think it's cool. Like I don't think I'm as committed to being great at it like I was when I first started, because I was going to tournaments and shit. I got my ass handed to me by like Luffy, who's like a fucking Evo champion. But like now, because I'm kind of not playing it on a competitive level, I think I'm a little bit more relaxed, so I'm probably just enjoying it a bit more. I'm still salty as fuck when I lose. Like I can't help that. But it's interesting when you walk away from a game and you kind of think you're done with it, and then you go back to it, and because you're not as focused on it anymore, it's not like the new thing, it's not the thing you're studying, it's not the thing you're going to be playing in front of a room full of people next week. It's amazing how you can kind of just relax and enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah, that's how I always enjoyed fighting games, because I've never, ever been good enough at any of them to even possibly think about participating in a tournament. Now, do you play with a fight stick?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the game, but yeah. Fight stick for Street Fighter, controller for Mortal Kombat. Because I hate that you have to press a block button for Mortal Kombat where it's back on Street Fighter. No, I do. I think they should have fucking dropped that ages ago. Like, it's back in Injustice. And it's only a button in Mortal Kombat out of tradition. But I think they should have done back to block in Mortal Kombat fucking ages ago.
Didn't Ultimate have a run button as well?
What, Mortal Kombat 3? Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone ran and they went, while they ran. It's just really, it's how I run everywhere, to be honest.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up with Charlotte. Charlotte, you took my advice, or no, you were going to do this anyways. You're starting playing Just Dance 2019.
Yeah. So I decided to get the 2019 one because it seems as though there's not that much incentive to get the newer ones aside from, you know, some new songs. But if you don't actually care what you're dancing to, then you can just pick up sort of any old Just Dance that works for you, especially because the titles from 2018 onwards, I believe, have a subscription service called Just Dance Unlimited. And as far as I understand at the moment, everything from your game that you've picked backwards, bar a few songs that aren't available for licensing reasons, basically a lot of the hits from previous games are available through this streaming service. And you do get a 30-day free trial, so I've been trying that out as well. And I'm pretty happy with it, because if you just want to get one copy of Just Dance with enough songs for you to, you know, burn some energy off to, then I don't think it really matters which one you buy, which is why I bought one that was a couple of years older, because I've bought so much fitness game stuff lately that I needed to save a bit on costs.
Yeah.
What I've noticed so far is it's fulfilling the role that I wanted it to fulfill, which is Ring Fit is less about, you know, cardio sort of activity and more about strengthening and holding poses and things like that. And Just Dance is obviously, it's a dance game, so there's a lot more wild waving your arms around. What I totally expected and what has come true is that Just Dance doesn't really have as much emphasis on warming up. And today I tried to do a bit of warming up according to what I do for Ring Fit, but it definitely wasn't enough because my shoulders hurt quite a bit. Because it does make you, it is mostly in the arms. Like, you can do leg stuff as well, but if you're worried about downstairs neighbors like I am, you can skip a lot of it and just do the arm stuff. You look very stupid doing it. Definitely put your curtains down before you do any Just Dance, but you can just do the arm stuff if you want to. But if you do it properly and like fully extend your arm, that puts a lot of strain on your joints, and that's what I'm kind of feeling at the moment. My shoulders don't feel great, which is kind of, I need to find some warming up exercises. That's not really Just Dance's fault, but Ring Fit definitely does more of a job of making sure that you do warm up and cool down after you've exercised.
The thing I always thought about Just Dance, whenever I saw it in trailers, is it always just looked really, really fucking hard. As in, like, the dancers.
It's really, to be honest, it's really not. And it's very generous. Like, it sort of more rewards you for getting things right rather than penalizing you for getting things wrong, if you know what I mean. Like, if you do badly, you'll probably get 3 stars out of 5, as opposed to, it's not like Dancing Stage or DDR where you fail stages. At least I had a feeling it was like that at one point, but I think it might not have been. I think I might have just got frustrated and literally walked away from the game, and that's why in my head I've got that I failed stages. It's not like that at all. It's like, you just do it at your own pace. If you miss things, you just join back in when you can, and it doesn't like auto failure or anything. So that's really good. And I look incredibly stupid doing it, but I've been getting 4 or 5 stars on quite a few stages. So I think I'm doing okay at it.
Are you sure you look stupid, or do you just think you look stupid?
I definitely look stupid. Like, I am not a good dancer whatsoever, but because it's like just sort of judging the vague. So how I'm playing it is I'm playing it on Switch. Probably should have said that up front. And I'm playing it with a third-party wrist strap that I bought that allows me to use the Joy-Con hands-free. and you just use one Joy-Con. Like yesterday when I tried it for the first time, I noticed there was a second player, and I was like, why is there a second player? And that's because you just use one Joy-Con, you don't use both.
I'm starting to think now that, I've just been talking about fighting games. I picked the wrong path, didn't I? I should have just DDR'd it all the way and then moved on to Pump It Up and then straight into Just Dance. And I'd be like fucking Janet Jackson in the Miss You Much video. That'd be me.
Do you really think your knees could handle high intensity DDR playing?
Well, maybe if I'd been so into dancing, I wouldn't have been a pro wrestler and my knees would be fine.
So I think to summarize, like this is fulfilling the role that I wanted it to fulfill, but there are definitely downsides to it compared to Ring Fit. Like there are probably pluses to it compared to Ring Fit. The fact that I'm sweating a whole lot more playing Just Dance than I am playing Ring Fit. So it seems to be doing more, but it is kind of, I'm going to have to be careful not to injure myself, really, which is a bit alarming, but yeah.
Something you worry about as you get older.
Yeah, that's the thing. I could just bounce around the living room, just throwing my arms everywhere when I was 16 years old, but now I'm just busting my joints all over the place.
When you're a kid and you get hurt, it's like what happened, and it's like, oh, I fell out of a fucking tree being Tarzan or whatever. And nowadays it's like, are you hurt, Chris? And it's like, yeah, I moved my arm too quickly when I was like washing my back in the shower, and now I've got like permanent shoulder injury for the rest of the day.
You are listening to Podtoid.
All right, that is it for games, which means it is time for the news.
This is the news.
And it's another slow week for news, unless you were thirsty for pictures of editors from video game websites receiving their PlayStation 5. If that's your porn of choice, then you were cup runneth over this week. Also, apparently the Xbox fridge is real and was sent to at least Snoop Dogg and someone named iJustine, who I probably should know about but don't.
All I know about these consoles that have come out is, you know how people keep putting up size comparison boxes? They're like, here it is. I think someone put one up next to their cat, and someone was like, here it is next to a banana and next to a TV. I swear, I look at those boxes and I think about cancelling my pre-order. That thing's fucking huge. Where am I going to put it?
How can I have a console that is at least 2 cats big? I don't understand. That's all measurements now. We're just going to measure stuff in cats.
I also like that for a while, PlayStation were a bit nervy about you having their consoles vertically. Like even with the PS2, they were like, you have to be careful the laser doesn't twist. And now they're just like, no, put it fucking vertically. Putting it horizontally, vertically all the way.
I can't imagine fitting it anywhere in my current entertainment setup horizontally. So,
well, I've got like a double bed in my room, so I can't put it horizontally.
I have a question though, like about, does anybody remember if any of the PlayStation consoles have had problems with overheating before? Because you would think that actually propping them up vertically might be a good way to make sure that they're getting airflow, because like less surface area is just stuck like on. I mean, as long as it's on a flat surface, that also helps. But you know what I mean? Like, did the old PS3s, for example, does anyone remember if the overheating has ever been an issue? I mean,
the PS4 is the hottest console known to man, and that's generally flat only, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was that actually why? Remind me, because I never had an Xbox 360. Was that part of the Red Ring of Death story with Xboxes that they overheated, or was that something else that was causing Red Ring of Death?
It was mostly just cheap components. It was just
I see.
The graphics card would melt. The thing holding the graphics card in position would melt and just cause the board to like warp. So it was heat based. You're right.
Okay, just a little aside.
There were a few other stories worth talking about this week, and we're going to start with NBA 2K and the sudden inclusion of ads. Just as what happened with UFC 3 a few weeks after the new NBA 2K title launch, it updated across all platforms with new unskippable ads. These would show up during the loading sequences, and players would be forced to sit through the whole thing before continuing on with their game. This quickly caused outrage, and on Wednesday, 2K Games clarified that the ads are not supposed to show up in the pre-game introduction, meaning anywhere else you see an ad, it's intended to be there and won't be fixed in an update. Neither Chris or I really play sports games, but Charlotte, you recently talked about falling back into FIFA, which is one of the best-selling yearly franchises. Do you think having like ads show up during the breaks of FIFA games, and from my experience with soccer, there's only one commercial break in between the first and second half. Does that increase your immersion into the sport?
I mean, yeah, you're kind of on the money there that football is just loaded with, advertising and paid stuff. And it is kind of consistent with what professional sport is like, to be honest. But I still think it's a pretty cheap move. If you're paying full price for, it's like basically one of those reskin games where if you buy it every year, you're paying for new rosters and potentially not that much else.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cheap.
They think they can get away with it because it's just like what you see on television. They're like, you watch the sport on TV and there's adverts all over there, and this is just like that version. And it's like, yeah, I know there's pay-per-views and stuff, but generally people don't spend $70 to watch like the sport on television.
Clearly, we needed to make a bigger fuss when they started putting in the Snickers play of the game. That should have been our first cue, our first sign of things to come with the Geico block of the game.
There's been a lot of it lately. Like, do you remember a couple of years ago, WWE had like Colonel Sanders in the game? They gave you the pieces to make Colonel Sanders because there was like a KFC tie-in sponsorship. But recently the recent UFC release had unskippable ads in for the boys, I believe, and they ended up taking that out. But they said like the adverts are going and they won't be back. In this case, 2K didn't say the adverts are going and they won't be back. They were just saying, oh, those adverts were appearing in error and they won't appear in error anymore. So EA was saying, we'll take the ads out. 2K are saying, we will adjust the adverts.
I figure 2K players have gotten used to all the different monetization schemes that 2K has thrown their way thus far, which is why it's one of the most profitable franchises in the industry. So I imagine they're just thinking, well, we'll make it so it's a little less intrusive now, but we're just going to eventually numb them to it. Like with me and all of that open world stuff that everyone else is numb to, and I'm not. Like that's what it's going to be. We're just going to wait until they're numb for it, and then we're just going to keep pushing it even more.
I can't believe that video games have commercial breaks. Like I grew up, I grew up with video games from the 80s. I can't believe that video games have commercial breaks and cost more than they've ever cost before.
You are listening to Podtoid.
We are just about out of time, but before we go, we have a community shout out this week, and that shout out goes to Dango, who is in the process of publishing their first book. In a recent blog, they talked about overcoming imposter syndrome and publishing some of their works on the website booksy.com to positive reviews. So this February, they will be self-publishing their first novel, Up Against Mooneye. I just want to say congratulations to Dango and for taking the step I've wanted to take for so many years. It's not easy writing. It's certainly not easy writing a whole book. So congratulations on overcoming everything you had to overcome to get to this point.
I'll tell you something about Dango as well. He knows his way around a barbecue. Like he really does. Like I interviewed him for the community interviews years back, like 3 years back. And he had a lot to say about the best way of making sausage and burgers.
That sounds really delicious.
Is that what his
right
book's
now.
About? No?
I don't know. It's called Up Against Mooneye, so I don't think it's about barbecuing, but it could be. Mooneye could be a very famous barbecuer that he's going up against in a barbecuing contest. Dango, that should be your sequel, if it's not this book.
And you can call it Dango Unchained.
Okay. That is it for this episode of Podtoid. On behalf of Chris, Charlotte, and myself, thank you for listening. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, or the Destructoid YouTube channel.